Thank you. Good morning. Surrounded by wonderful groups that are going to register the heck out of this county. Three quick things. Number one, we are facing a real threat to our democracy, our democratic way of life. All around us, we have a Supreme Court that gutted the Voting Rights Act. We have a Supreme Court that has said publicly your freedom of speech and your influence in voting depends on how much money you have. We have a president who's much closer with dictators and oligarchies than he is with our Democratic allies. We have a commission set up which is unfortunately not really to go after good things about voting. So there's a lot that we have to be concerned about. But point number two is the groups around here and some very good legislators have done a lot to improve registration and voting in Chicago and Illinois. And the most important and a great victory recently was automatic voter registration. Thank you all, Chicago Votes. And by the way, I don't know if he's speaking today, but the new director of Chicago Votes, Stevie, where's Stevie? You know, I guess he's a good organizer, he's in the back, but he's going to be very, very important for registration in this town. So a lot of good things are going on. The final point is that we're here because, let's look at it like this, in a democratic way of life, voters get to hire and fire elected officials. Now there's quite a few we'd like to hire, and probably there's quite a few we'd like to fire. But you cannot hire or fire those people unless you're registered to vote. And all of these groups, hopefully someone will mention all the names at some point, wonderful groups here in Chicago and Cook County and across the state that have really been in the trenches. So a lot of things are going to happen today at various places registering people, but this is going to continue every day, we hope, up until November 2018. We don't care how you vote. It may sound strange coming from me. We don't care how you vote. We want people to register so they can vote. And let's make sure we hire some people that believe in democracy and maybe can some of those who don't seem to be serving the public interest. Happy National Voter Registration Day. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ami Gandhi, and I'm a voting rights attorney with Chicago Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. We run a nonpartisan voter protection program, and every election, our 866-R-VOTE hotline is flooded with calls from voters who are facing barriers at the polls, including many voters of color, low-income community members, and first-time voters like young people and new citizens. Unfortunately, voter intimidation and disenfranchisement are still real problems, even today, even in 2017. And thankfully, many of these issues can be resolved in partnership, especially with local and state election authorities. But the threats to voting rights continue, especially at the national level. The Sham Election Integrity Commission, led by Chris Kobach, is issuing overly intrusive requests for our personal information and spreading dangerous myths about widespread voter fraud that are simply not supported by the facts. As soon as these requests were issued, we as the Just Democracy Coalition advocated for our state's voter information to be kept safe. The Just Democracy Illinois Coalition is led by a steering committee that includes Asian Americans Advancing Justice Chicago, Change Illinois, Chicago Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, Chicago Votes, Common Cause Illinois, Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, and Illinois PIRG. We applaud the Illinois State Board of Elections for insisting that the Sham Commission provide more of their specific plans and provide far more safeguards for our information before anything is turned over. We also thank the State Board for sharing specific data showing that widespread voter fraud, it's just a myth. Especially at a time like this, what we do here at the state and local level is really important. State and local government agencies play a critical role in protecting voters' rights and improving the security of our information. And we'll continue to partner with these agencies to keep our information safe and to give us access at the polls. Please call us at 866-R-VOTE on National Voter Registration Day, on Election Day, or any time that you have questions or concerns about how to register or about how to protect our voting rights. I'll now turn it over to my friend and colleague, Ibie Hart from Common Cause Illinois.
My name is Ibie Hart, and I'm a youth organizer with Common Cause and a proud member of the Just Democracy Coalition. I want to thank all of the speakers and organizations for their leadership and advocacy, especially as we come together today for National Voter Registration Day. Common Cause is an organization that is part of a national people's lobby to fight for holding power accountable for several issues. one of the most important issues is voting rights. We want people to stand up and to take power back through our constitutional right to vote. And the Just Democracy Coalition did this. They worked for over 2 years to make sure that automatic voter registration became law, and that was an amazing win. But the battle is not over. We still need to fight for voter registration because automatic voter registration is not effective right away. We need election day registration to stay in place, and that is also a battle that we must fight for. I am encouraged by all of the champions of democracy that I get to work with on college campuses every day. I work with University of Chicago, Northwestern, high schoolers at Walter Payton and Jones, community colleges, as well as students at University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana. I want to tell you a story about them. When we were busy late August signing AVR and drinking way too much wine, our students went ahead and registered 200 students on their very first day of school. They didn't stop there though. They continued to try to fight for a resolution that saying that every student must receive voter information and election information throughout their school year. I am very encouraged about this and excited to train 100 more students through our Activist Academy in November. We can all be champions of democracy, and I'm especially encouraged by our 35,000 members who put their feet on the ground to register their friends, their neighbors, their co-workers every single day. I'm proud to represent Common Cause, especially as Wisconsin will be introducing AVR at their capital at this very moment. I want to end with a story though. John Lewis talked about a day in Selma where he realized that only 2.1% black voters were actually registered because they could only get registered at the courthouse and they had to pass a literacy test in order to be registered. Over and over again, they were told that they were not illiterate enough and they could not vote. Our ancestors worked very, very hard to overcome this roadblock, and I want each and every one of us to continue that fight and to remove all of the rest of the roadblocks that are in our way today. I think that all of us are champions of democracy, and I'm going to hold you accountable to doing that fight. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, on this really muggy day. My name is Celina Villanueva, and I'm the Civic and Youth Engagement Manager at the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. We're here to celebrate what should be everybody's new favorite holiday, National Voter Registration Day. But let's give it up, National Voter Registration Day. But before we get to the celebrating, I want to take a moment to reflect on why days like today are important. Our work at ICIR is about empowering immigrant and refugee communities, and particularly our young people. And during such a tumultuous time in our nation's history, we can't forget the importance of asserting our rights, whether it's the constitutional right to protest, and particularly the one that we're celebrating today, the right to vote. While it seems like every day there's something that is turning the world upside down, there is much that we can do to fight for our communities. We cannot be silent during times of injustice, which is understandable why this gentleman over here is obviously passionate about what he feels. And we can't be silent against the threats made to our communities or other marginalized communities. It is imperative to have our voices heard, and one way of doing this is by asserting our right to vote. So while we are here as a demonstration of our continued commitment to empowering immigrant and refugee communities, ICIR will be submitting about 1,000 voter registrations of new American citizens to the Cook County and Chicago Boards of Elections today. The work of registering eligible citizens to vote is pivotal to our organization and to having the voices of immigrant communities heard. But don't worry, our work doesn't stop there. As a member of the Just Democracy Coalition, several of the members of which who are here today standing with me and speaking, we will also continue to work hard to strengthen and broaden our democracy to be more inclusive of different voices by building upon the laws that the Coalition has helped to make a reality in Illinois, like online registration, election day registration, and most recently, automatic voter registration. So for those of you that are eligible but not registered, today is your day. Take the literally 2.5 minutes that it takes to get registered and enjoy National Voter Registration Day. Thank you. No. And now I'm going to introduce my colleague and friend, Andy Kang from Asian Americans Advancing Justice.
Hi, I'm Andy Kang, Legal Director at Asian Americans Advancing Justice Chicago. I'm also the co-chair of the Just Democracy Illinois Coalition, and I'm very proud to stand here with my partners in the coalition. The Asian American community has historically in Illinois, had the lowest voter registration rates of any group in our state. And that's a problem that we take very seriously, as our mission is to empower the Asian American community so that we can really fight together for racial equity. Anyone paying attention to the news today knows that there are so many issues that people feel very passionately about, whether it's DACA and passing the DREAM Act, whether it's the Muslim ban 2.0 or 3.0, or whether it is the streets of Chicago and the violence that we're experiencing. Folks have very strong opinions about what needs to happen in our city, in our state, and in our country. Well, what's essential to make those opinions a reality, to put your money where your mouth is you have to vote. You have to get registered to vote. For those of us that have that privilege to be registered and to actually vote on behalf of our community, it is our responsibility to avail ourselves of that. Now, we did pass automatic voter registration as a Just Democracy Illinois Coalition, and we're going to do everything we can to work with election officials and the Illinois Secretary of State to get it online as soon as possible next year. That being said, for everyone listening and watching this now, don't wait till next year. Today is National Voter Registration Day. Don't put this off next week or even tomorrow. Register to vote today. Help us build a better and stronger democracy. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce,
first of all, happy National Voter Registrations Day. All right. So my name is Troy Alim. I am a Chicago Votes alum, and I also am the Midwest organizer for Young Invincibles. Young Invincibles is a national nonprofit organization that works on economic issues that affects young adults, so healthcare, higher education, and workforce development. And one of the big pieces of our work is making sure students are registered to vote and actually out voting. So I want to congratulate all of the organizations that are represented here for the excellent work y'all have put in over the last few years, getting AVR passed. So next I'm going to introduce the Executive Director for Chicago Votes, Stevie Valles.
Happy National Voter Registration Day. I want to first of all thank everybody who came out today. County Clerk Orr, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share this moment with us. The United Steelworkers, Rainbow Push, Common Cause Illinois, ICER, Asian Americans Advancing Justice, Chicago Votes, Common Cause Illinois, Chicago's Lawyers Committee, City Colleges, and everybody who believes in democracy. So this holiday was established in 2012, the same year Chicago Votes started. Since then, back then, Illinois had a prehistoric voting system that consisted of nothing but paper voter registrations, early voter registration deadlines, and very long lines when it was time to go cast your ballot. Since then, with the work of the Just Democracy Coalition and Believers of Democracy, we have modernized the voting system here in Illinois, passing online voter registration, same-day voter registration, and most recently automatic voter registration, which is going to add an estimated 1.2 million people to the voting rolls automatically. So it's a really exciting time for democracy, and efforts of advocacy like what Just Democracy has done over the course of the past 5-6 years, as well as days of action like National Voter Registration Day, truly make our democracy more representative, makes our democracy more fair, enables more people to have their voices heard through voting, and it makes our democracy cheaper. So I'm excited to be celebrating National Voter Registration Day today. I want to thank everybody for coming out today, and if before you go, we're going to have a voter registration training right here at this table for Chicago Votes. And then we're going to do voter registration throughout the entire city, where we'll be registering hundreds of people to vote. We have a happy hour tonight, if anybody wants to come, at the Virgin Hotel. So thank you all again, and happy National Voter Registration Day.